Welcome to TradeNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 21st of March. Well, we weren't surprised by the continuation of the move. Mentioned had clearly been above the yellow here on our NBI readings. Crossover of the blue over the gray from the extended underneath the 10. Particularly love watching when they dip under the 10. It's sort of like what we talked about, like a reset capability, much like we talked about it for steel. Dipping back down towards the one value and coming back up. It's just an indication that everybody's in alignment with what they want to do, and that's why you can see the progression of this has just been super strong for the 23%, boom, nonstop. Now the market's only down about 6% from the open of the year. Still, this is strong readings. Close to the potential of green dipping below cyan here on the DOC steel, but orange coming from below, and that at this particular stage has all been relatively bullish. No reason why it can't continue, except for you are hitting up against 50%, and any pivot lower now becomes interesting because a spike up of white, you could get a crossover, and then we may see a little bit more interesting, like back over here when that happens. Usually creates a bit of a downdraft. So we also have these extremes in the yellow, and pretty likely that in weakness they'll be primary targets for filling. So not happening yet. Most of that pain trade was to the upside, which is something I was talking about with option expiration. With so many people positioned to the negative side of it, it just creates an easy opportunity to cancel them out. And that's exactly what the market's designed to do. If too many people are going one direction, it goes the opposite direction. That's just the way it works. NQ, NASDAQ looking almost identical except for the DOC readings. You don't have green over, you have the cyan leading. So it's softer there. And you can see in the final day here, just put in almost a red extreme on that one. Shakeout, approaching zero, which also becomes key because as the shakeout approaches zero, if it rolls back over from the 0 point, then I expect a pretty significant retrace off that kind of maneuver. Euro still at the high side of the range, 110, but there's nothing exciting or good happening in the Eurozone at this particular stage. It's just a question of how much the Fed backstops the Euro to prevent it from falling down, because it really does help U.S. businesses having a better exchange rate. And gold still hovering right around that 50% range. It's still been in a weakness pattern for now, and that's just off that terror trade of the whole Ukraine thing. Still ongoing. Nothing's improving and doesn't seem any closer to resolution. So depends on your point of view who you think that favors, but at the end of the day, Ukraine is being decimated each day. So even if there's some kind of resolution, it's going to be destroyed. The fortunate thing is that nothing's been impacted as far as pipeline activities and things like that. So kind of interesting, just from a geopolitical standpoint, that Russia has not been more proactive in retaliation for the sanctions setup, but we're yet to see what's going to happen with the restrictions on exports from Russia, and there's just no way the U.S. is going to be making them up, which is why you're seeing just a deterioration in pricing for U.S. products is just climbing through the roof, and that's just going to have a forward effect. Now the market's going to respond to that with, like I've talked about before, with an increase in price until such time as they see that it's having a dramatic effect on the economy. But by the time they see the effect on the economy, it would be too late. Now, what they're going to be looking at is things like housing starts and stuff like that, which we saw, which are still at high levels. So no real impending crisis, at least from a market standpoint, looking forward for the next 5-6 months. And treasuries still pretty good size yields on these setups here. And if that begins to fade down again, I've been talking about breaking that 130 down into the 125 range. Would be my expectation given where it is. There's going to be some that hold the belief that the Fed is going to have to ease given the rapid inflation. There's just no way that there's going to have to be some kind of stimulus. Be hard pressed to do that given that and I just don't see how they can raise rates much given the debt. It just would become unsustainable from a payment standpoint to cover it. So it's really a tough spot to be in. Of course, from a 50K standpoint, yes, they bought the turnaround move and still long on that aspect of it. ETH, beautiful readings from that. It's just such an easy pink bar read. The algorithms on it are just spot on, and it's just an indication of where things are more likely to go as computers really dominate how trade takes place, and it really shows the directional power of it. It's a secondary 50K chart. Okay, that was the 60-minute of Bitcoin that I had it there before. Let me go back to that. Right there. I haven't activated the one for the 50K. I'll put that one on next. This was the updated charting that I had to recreate, but again, the signals were clear once we had the crossover. It was pretty clean. Intraday action was fun because we had a little bit of the sell-off, kind of bounced a little bit by the time we got to the pre-market open. Literally an hour before open, and things just started to take off. And once that was done, it sort of becomes a cascade simply because this was OptionX, and they had pretty tight rein on things. So any of the little dips were modest, and each of the new buys, and that last one just stayed with it all the way. So it was kind of boring, nothing really to do. The moves weren't enough to play between even those previous sell signals it produced. Yeah, they were okay, but the turnaround's pretty fast on them, so it was just one of those where if you just didn't take a set number of points, you would have been out even on the turnarounds and had to flip to the long side. And it's just a matter of waiting for it, but it still was a nice ride from that original turnaround right at 44.09 range, 44.10, all the way up to 465. I mean, it's a slow, long day, but it's still 50 points. Can't complain about that. As always, though, I will continue to update you on the Skype chat, anything new and relevant, but we'll just keep following these readings as they come. It's pretty clean and straightforward so far. As always, trade well. We'll talk to you later.